And so that fuel of never wanting to be less than anymore, it's going to fuel a man to go to the gym every single day, to eat right, to read books, to get ripped, learn how to fight, to maybe even going out to just talking to women, talking to people to gain that, whatever it may be, right?
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Benrolins Blueprint podcast. I'm your host, Benrolins Awandem. Today's going to be a great episode. I have an interesting and great gentleman in the building. He's a person of faith, or a man of faith as you call it. He's a financial expert, and he was a model at one point. Oh my God, this guy is so interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, it's no other person than the one and only Mr. Daniel Alvarez. Hey, Mr. Daniel, how you doing today, man?
I'm great, man. I'm great. And just to make sure I was not professional, I was just doing it for fun.
Why did you say that, by the way?
Nah, man. I'm grateful. I got to be able to have the opportunity to model and whatnot. But never like, a professional landscape. I don't know. Maybe I'm cutting myself short, but yeah, it was fun.
Oh, okay. Since you said that, if someone were to walk up to you today and said, "Hey, Mr. Daniel, describe yourself," what are you going to tell that person?
Describe myself. I would say a man of faith. 100% first, a man of faith. A man who with integrity, loyalty, and drive. Yeah, man. I don't know. I'm a dreamer.
You're a dreamer.
I'm a dreamer, bro. I just so many things that God can give us, but we just don't. We limit Him. So we limit ourselves, but by limiting ourselves, we limit Him. And so at the end of the day, it's like if I want that, if I want this, I can have it. It's mine. Everything that's been here on this earth is meant for us. But all in God's timing and all in God's will. So.
I like that. And you just mentioned you're a man of faith. Like, you didn't just wake up one morning and said, "Oh, today I'm going to be a man of faith." It was like a gradual process. Something led to that moment. So can you give us a build up, what really led to you becoming a man of faith?
Yeah, especially for me, man. So I grew up Catholic. I grew up in the Catholic Church. My dad was a deacon. We kids, we don't really got much say, right? We don't got really much say. Like, hey, I can't do it. I don't know. But for me, a big part of my childhood, I was going to church, spend time with people at the church, family members, family friends and whatnot. But I felt like I was forced, I was a kid. What do I know? But at some point, I was like, I don't want to. And it's not like, I got bored on Sundays. No, it's just that for me, there were expectations. And I realized now, looking back, I realized now that I knew so much about the church. I barely knew God. I knew He was there. I believed in Him. I loved Him, but I barely knew Him. So there wasn't really. I was like, the detachment was coming from church, not from God. But it just so happened. So for me, growing up, man, I was very disconnected with God for a good part of my childhood. Growing up, from there, I was from middle school till the end of high school. I was just a rebel emo kid, just doing my thing, man. And it's crazy because when you're disconnected with God and you never knew Him in that personal level, anything can influence you and create your identity. And so for me, long story short, being able to be where I'm at today, reconnected with my God and with my Lord, and just doing what I'm doing now. I think just more importantly, being able to influence and impact people. You don't have to be a pastor to impact people. You do have to have the Word and the Holy Spirit in you, and so I'm grateful.
Yeah, I like that. And you just said something which I consider profound. You don't have to be a pastor to impact people. And that's one of the misconceptions some people have in their mind when it comes to like Christianity. They're like, hey, you gotta be a pastor before you want to like share the word or spread the word out. And some people who are not a pastor and they take the leap of faith to preach the word of God, they're gonna see someone like on the street and they just go over there and just like start quoting scriptures like, "Hey, the word of God says in the book of John chapter this, blah, blah, blah."
Yeah.
Like that guy has not even gotten to that level of getting the scripture. You first of all gotta go and like try to find out, understand, and meet the person where he or she is. Because sometimes we get like just carried away by the scriptures and we don't really like have connection with the person we're preaching to. And if that person don't really get the message, how are you going to impact that person's life? And sometimes when someone, like if you see someone begging on the street and you just go over there and start quoting scriptures, that guy is like, he'll be in his mind thinking like, are you out of your mind or something? Like, I need money.
Yeah.
And you're talking about like, hey, the Bible says blah, blah, blah. I don't know anything about that book.
Yeah.
So you got to come like, hey, how you doing? Hey, what's wrong? Like, try to find out like, how did the person get to that point?
Yeah.
And then from there, you can like lead the person towards the direction where you think is right. And it's not as if you're forcing the person, but you say, oh, there's somebody who is mightier, who is greater, who has like more power and can impact or influence your life in a positive direction. It's slowly but surely. But in order for you to like influence that person, you got to meet the person where he or she is before you want to tell the person about Jesus. Jesus is going to be like, you can tell someone about Jesus without even mentioning Jesus, and the person is going to, it'll be like, damn. Before the person understand, you're like, boop, he's hooked already. So you got to know, like, hey, connect with God and have a deeper understanding on how to deliver the message. It's not like, hey, you got to meet someone today and you start like speaking in tongues, blah, 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 blah. And if the person is not speaking in tongues, you consider the person like, hey, this person doesn't even know what God is. Yeah. So sometimes we just like, instead of like bringing people to God, we instead like send them away. Because people are always watching us to see what we're doing, if it matches what we say.
Yeah.
And if it does not connect, they're like, no. Like, if this guy can be Christian, then there's no point for me being a Christian, because I want to see something. Character. Character is the most important thing for everybody, whether you're a Christian or not. And being a Christian, if you have to take it to another level, because people are watching and observing if what you're saying matches what you're doing. And if it does not match, you're like, no, they're not going to follow this guy, and they're not going to come to God. And now you like, oh, people are not coming to God. You got to ask yourself, what are you doing right or what are you doing wrong? And if you don't have time for self-reflection, you're going to scare people away from Jesus. And you're going to ask yourself, why are they not coming? That's something really.
That's crazy, because like that's what happened to me. I didn't like that after that period of time of being disconnected with God. It's not that out of nowhere I woke up and wanted to go to church. No, I was being met where I was at, and so that kind of leading from your intro, being a model. My friend who was a photographer, she just got started. She got a new camera and everything. She hit me up. She was like, "Hey, like, have you ever thought about like modeling?" And I had gotten a new car. I was like, "Oh, I mean, hey, like, would you be down to like shoot some pictures for me?" And from there, she introduced me, and God used her to get me back in. And so she started inviting me to church. She told me about her church. At first, I mean, just like most people, I would be very hesitant, and but I keep, she keeps inviting, and eventually she stopped. But I saw her on like in social media, Instagram, and I saw her posting about it, and for some reason I asked, I was like, "Hey, so it's like every like where? It's like in this location every time?" And she's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay." And then the next Sunday, I remember I hit her up. I was like, "Hey, are you going to church today?" She was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, I want to go. I'll be there. I'll be there." And I remember the first couple of times being there, man. Very emotional, crying, just the words, the worship song, everything, and it was like he's been calling me to come back home, and now that entails for you to surrender your old life for your new one, and so in order to do that, you were saying, self-reflection is very important. Being able to understand, okay, cool, a lot of things that you might have thought was okay, or the environment that you're in, the people you associated with, you're gonna have to reevaluate all those things. So like if you're used to, going out on the weekend and then the next morning you wake up, you go to church, hey man, you can't do that. Your lifestyle, your character, like you were saying, everything, your mindset has to align with what you really ultimately want. And at the end of the day, God is gonna place what you ultimately want in you. All these dreams, all these visions that you have, they didn't just come from thin air. They came from God. They're little ideas and seeds planted in you because you're meant to do something more.
Yeah, man, that's true. And one thing that some people fail to understand is the thing, like, once you're Christian, you're a perfect human being, and that's not true.
100%
We all are imperfect soldiers for Christ. We're trying to progress every single day. We're trying to become better version of ourselves, and sometimes we may fall short of His glory. But that does not mean that we don't love Jesus.
Yeah.
And when we fall short, you try as much as possible to reconnect with your Father. Because if you don't reconnect with that guy or that mighty being, you're gonna like feel as if you're not really impactful. You feel as if you don't have anybody with you. You feel alone. Even though you might be in the middle of like a lot of people, but you feel like you're empty. You don't really like connect or have that connection with people. Just because like you feel like, oh, there's something I need, but you don't know what that thing is. So it's always good to like have that connection with God no matter what happens. Like I'm not perfect. I'm not.
Neither am I.
Every single day I try to improve in one area of my life.
Yep.
Even though sometimes I fall short, but like I'm like, oh God, please, I need your mercy. I need your help. How can I be better today than I was yesterday? And that's the way I live my life. And sometimes your imperfections or the challenges you've been through, or like some of the horrible things you've done in your life, qualifies you to help another person who is going through similar situations today. But sometimes we get all messed up by like, hey, we're going through some terrible situations, terrible circumstances. We've been through like a lot of crazy things. We are not qualified to help someone. Man, all those nasty experience you've had qualifies you to help someone, because there's someone who needs your message today, but can't find it. Where are you? So you got to like know that no matter what you've been through in life, you have a voice. You have a voice, and someone needs to hear that and be impacted and learn something that's going to help them in mighty ways. Because like sometimes we just get caught up like, hey, man, I'm not enough. I can't do anything. I can't help someone. I can't do something to impact another person's life. There's no way I can improve somebody.
Yeah.
Like they don't even believe in themselves. But if you know how great you are, you're not even going to like sit down and begin to like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. You just have to believe.
Yeah.
And that it all comes back and boils back to your personal identity. Yeah. That's why the first question I ask you, if someone were to say, hey, describe yourself, what are you going to tell that person? Because the way you look at yourself, that identity is going to determine how you're going to react or respond to life. Because if you have like a negative perception of yourself, when a problem hits you, you don't even know how to react because you don't even believe in your own abilities and skills.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
But when you have a good, like, let me just take an example. Like, if you just know you're an athlete, right? And someone come to you today and like, hey man, how can I do this, like bodybuilding or something? Even though you don't know like everything, you just have the identity that you're an athlete. You can figure some things out to help that person.
Yeah.
And like even challenge hits you, you know how to like react. Like if you see most athletes, they're really like proactive, like they're ready. They're always ready. Like they train, they do a lot of exercises and stuff just to prepare their mindset and their body for like anything that comes their way. So like when you have like a personal identity, you know like, hey, even though this thing comes my way, I know how to react. I know how to handle it. And we don't have to be reactive. We we have to be proactive, because sometimes people are just going to sit, no plan, no strategy, and when something hit, bam, they're like, what am I going to do?
Yep.
But when you're proactive, you know, like, hey, this might happen, and if this happen, what action or what steps am I going to take to get to another level? Once you strategize and have those plans, like, you on the right path. But if you don't have like someone, or you don't believe that God is great, I mean, it's going to be hard for you. I'm not sitting here telling you or imposing my religion or my beliefs on you, but I'm just saying that if something that's great, and if you think it's something good, check it out and see how God can work mighty or like great things in your life. Is there anything you have to say about it?
You said about personal identity, man. I think that's probably the most important thing next to your identity with Christ, right? Because you're a reflection of what you believe, what you think, and what you feel inside.
Yeah.
And I believe your identity ties in with your calling. Your calling you have to figure out your calling.
Yeah.
It's gonna evolve in time, it's gonna develop in time, but the moment you do find out your calling, whether you like I said earlier, you don't got to be a pastor to impact people through Christ, right? So, for example, you can be a teacher a teacher at preschool. You can be a lawyer. You can be a business major. You could be a podcaster, bro. Like, your calling, whatever it is, you have like you said, you have a voice.
Yep.
And you're giving a platform to show that voice and share that voice with other people. Unfortunately, so many voices go to the grave because they decide, well, their circumstance get the best of them.
Yep.
And they realize, or they found out too late, that they didn't have a voice. But they do have a voice. I grew up being bullied for the little things about me, my speech impediment, my lips, all that. Grew up believing that I didn't have a voice. I grew up thinking that, okay, cool, every time I speak, someone is going to be misunderstood because they couldn't understand a list, right? So for me, I 100% believe that everyone has a story, everyone has a voice, that someone out there is going to hear it, and it's going to need to hear it at that specific moment in time. Once you figure out that you yourself, once you realize that you have a voice yourself, the quicker, the faster people are going to be impacted. There are people that depend on you that you haven't even met yet. And I think that's the biggest thing. So when it comes to personal identity, that's where you start learning about you, start learning more about God as well.
Yeah, that's true, man. And like, one of the hacks to really like find out who you really are is to lean towards God. Trust me. You're really going to know some great things that you ask yourself, oh my God, had I known, I would have been in this place a long time ago. And that's so revealing when you get into that moment. You're like, oh my God, there's something greater than myself. There's something bigger than myself. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's like, it's crazy because most of us, including myself at one point, once we're on that journey, once we're on that path, we, like you said earlier, we believe we have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Meaning that anything that has happened in our past, we believe that we should have already cut it off to cold turkey in order to walk this path. But no, you're gonna slip up, whatever it may be, whether it be alcohol, lust, whether it be any type of sin, you being lethargic, you being lazy, right? Whatever it may be, you're going to feel unfortunately, you're going to feel moments of relapse where this is all new, but that's what it's supposed to be. Yeah, you got to understand that there's a process, right? So if you do slip, if you do fall back, if you do have a moment of weakness, you're getting depressed, whatever it may be, you're getting discouraged, that's what the enemy wants. The enemy wants you to come back home. You heard, the enemy wants you to come back home, not your home, his home.
Yeah.
And so as long as you keep going in that path, you don't got to be perfect. I always say I'm not a perfect man. I'm a progressing man. I always progress moving forward. You got to understand the same. I told this to someone else the other day. The same level of affection that God has for you is the same level of destruction that the enemy has for you. He wants you to stay hooked to whatever he has in store for you. It's crazy, right? The amount of you must be a very special, important, valuable person to have both the enemy, the devil, and God after you.
It makes sense, because if you're someone who, like, you don't really have something valuable to offer, the devil is just going to be like, oh, I got this one already, there's no need, on to the next.
Yep,
On
exactly.
to the next. Yeah.
Something, let's say something small could let's say someone who in your eyes you seem you seem less valuable, right? The devil doesn't need to work hard to get you to be comfortable with wherever it is. You're in your own misery, your own destruction, right? He could literally throw a pebble at you. Flat tire, okay, cool. That'll take care of him for the rest of the week.
Yep.
Boom, flat tire, cool. But for some people who understand their calling and their purpose and their value that God has placed in them, the devil kind of have to work a little bit more. So as the devil's working double time, if he's doubling down on you, most of us, I mean, that's the true test of faith, right? If the enemy doubles down on you, what do you do? Do you react in a negative way and you fall for the trap, or you triple down on it? You triple down your work, you triple down your calling, your purpose, right? Whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're running a business, you're starting a business, starting a podcast, you're teaching people the Bible, whatever it may be that you're doing, triple down on it. And I think that's why I'm so full of faith, and the future looks so bright, because no matter where I'm at today, no matter where anyone is at today, there is so much more in the future. You just gotta stay the course.
Yeah, that's true, and I believe that. I really do believe that. And one thing that scares people away from Christ is like temptation. They're just like, oh, temptation. But the truth is this, like, temptation is not really a religious word. To tempt means to test for weakness. And that's it.
That's good.
But the thing is, when some people hear temptation, they think it's all these spiritual words, and nah, it's really not. And in order of everybody go through like tests, whether you're a Christian or you're not a Christian, you're going to get through those trials and tribulations that really test you in order for you to attain a higher level in your life. Whether you're a Christian or not a Christian, you're going to go through tests. You're going to go through some trials and tribulations, because that moment is preparing you for the future moment coming ahead. That's future success. You got to experience some trials and tribulations today that's going to prepare you mentally and emotionally to handle that level of success that's coming your way in future. So if you're not really prepared, you're not going to go through tests. And when you go through tests, you got to know that, oh, something is coming. So you got to prepare and brace yourself to embrace that and take it as a challenge to go to another level. Because if you just sit down and like, hey, I don't want to be tempted, and then don't even have any higher goal for your life, and don't even think about something great, and you're not going to be tested any day. But the moment you said, oh, I have a goal to achieve, I have a big dream, a plan, a goal to attain, you're going to be tested. You'll be like, how much do you want this thing that you're talking about? How much do you want it? And if you don't really want it, the moment that the test comes, you're going to be like, damn, it's too much for me to handle. And you can attain that level of success you always dreamt of.
Yeah.
So you always got to be prepared. You always got to be prepared for like tests. You can just wipe away the temptation and just put tests right there, because that's what it is. It's not any like spiritual something. It just means test.
Yeah.
And the moment you know that, you know, like every day you might be tested in one way or the other. How are you going to handle that test? Are you ready for it, or are you just going to be reactive? The moment it happens, you're just like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do today. And if you're living your life that way, it's really hard for you to really do something sustainable.
Yeah.
Because you just like, oh, today, this, that, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, how did I get myself into this mess? And you were not prepared. You were not prepared.
You stay ready so you don't have to get ready, right? So,
Yeah.
sorry. It's crazy. Like you can't go like, how exactly do people get prepared? Like, what are some preparation? Like, people think that it's all within your willpower. It's all within your own power. You have the ability to get prepared, right? Now that's what being disciplined, being self-control, learning self-control, your mindset, right? Getting your physique right. Because if you focus on one area of your life, the other one deprives yourself. And so whether that be a sin of lust, of whatever it may be, alcoholism, whatever it may be, right? You have to learn how to self-control, discipline yourself, right? Obviously, including all these other things that you got to do. There's actually a script, like I was just thinking about it. There's actually a scripture that I wanted to say because you said it yourself, like as far as being prepared, a man without self-control, it's like a city broken into and left without walls. Proverbs 25:28. And that is exactly what it is, because if you're not prepared, if you feel like the text is not going to come anytime soon, you're wrong. The text is here.
Yeah.
And the fact that the fact that you have the text right in front of you, it tells you that you have the potential to be ready for whatever it is, or whatever blessing is to come.
Yep.
You are ready. But if you don't realize that before the text, and you realize at the moment, you got to get ready, and you're not ready. So at the end of the day, every text, some people think that, okay, cool, it's like, dang, I'm not ready. I'm not, can't. Oh, damn, okay, cool. I'm gonna just stay here where I'm at. Yeah. No, man, like you had the potential to get ready, and it's not to say that text won't come back around tomorrow. No, the text is every single day, so you are ready, even if people think that they're not.
Man, that's some really powerful insight right there, and just being prepared. And if you're not prepared, and when the test comes, you just knowing that you're already ready, it's going to like shift your mindset to another dimension, because now you know, like, hey, there's something coming ahead tomorrow, and I don't know if I'm going to get there, but boy, oh boy, let's try it out and see if I can really like overcome this challenge ahead of me. And once you overcome it and you attain that level, that's what I always say. You can never connect the dot looking forward, but you can always connect the dot looking backward. And when you're hoping, that you just got to believe that the dot is going to somehow connect in future. And that's how you got to live your life. Because like, if you just sit down and you don't really like plan and be prepared of some certain, and one thing is change. You got to be prepared for change, because change is going to come whether you like it or you don't like it. Change is coming. And one thing you got to understand, like, we got summer, winter, spring, all the seasons. And you during the summer, you don't throw away your winter clothes. Why? Because you know the season is going to change.
That's good.
And when it changes, you know what kind of clothes you got to put on.
That's good.
And you know how you got to braces. Like during the summer, you're not going to put a whole like coat, like all those stuff for the winter,
right?
Because you know you're going to be sweating so hard.
You're going to lose a lot of pounds for sure.
Yeah, you're going to be sweating. Someone's going to be like, "Damn, is it raining in your body?" Because you don't really know how the season works.
Right.
So you got to know, like, every time we always have like something going on, and you got to know, like, hey, what period of my life am I in right now? Am I in the summer? Am I in the winter or spring? You got to find that out. And how can you find out stuff like that? You have to like sit down and do reflection and believe in God, connect with Him, because He is the only one who knows you. Like, before you were even born, He knew everything about you. It's just like every manufacturer, when the manufacturer produce a product, they have like, they already know what this product can do. Let's just for example, this phone. The manufacturer knows, like, you can use this phone for 8 hours and the phone is not going to go off. After 8 hours, and then the battery can die off. And the guarantee, that's why every this product always comes with like a paper, like a book, or warranty and a guarantee. Why? The manufacturer is guarantee you that you can use this product, can like make a phone calls. It can send text messages. You can browse on the internet. You can do this. Why? Because they are the owner of the product. They produce that product. So they know the capabilities of that product. Yeah. And the manual is just the maker's mind on paper. So you got to find out, like, and sometimes, like, how many of us even read the manual? We don't even read the manual. And if you don't even read the manual, do you even know the manual for your life? And people just sit down, they're just like, oh, you know everything. But when you get a product, you don't even know like all the capabilities of that product. And if you were to be reading if you're reading the manual, you're going to know that, oh, out of like 10,000 capabilities, you're using just like 100 and you think you're smart. You think you're doing something, but you don't know what that product can really do until you connect with the maker's mind. That's how life is.
Yep.
And you got to connect with the maker's mind. And what is the manual for our life? It's the Bible.
The word.
It got everything you need to know. And if you don't read that book, you're really going to be left behind. And it's not only about reading the book, but reading the book with the intention to connect with the maker, to connect with the creator. Like, what does the creator have to say about me? And how can I get to another level? Or how can I connect with his mind to really understand some of the precept, the concept, and the principles that he really, really value? Because there's one thing sometimes I have problems with tradition. Because tradition is your experience with principles. And most of the times we try to like trade our experiences to the next generation. That is tradition, trading our experience. And we're not trading the principles. And now those kids or those the people of the next generation, when they come, they're like, damn, I don't know what the hell this is. Because we didn't trade the principles, we traded our experience. And our experience might not be the best. So we have to learn, hey, what is the maker really saying about this situation? And how can I connect with him and learn the principles? Don't learn someone's experience of the principle. Because that experience he had or she had is not going to be the same experience you're going to have. So you got to always understand the principles. And if you don't read the maker's mind, like, how are you going to know? How you gonna know?
Jeez, man, you were just spitting bars, man. It's crazy because like that, yeah, like you were saying, like change and just the text and it's like the principle, transfer principles and all that. It's like, man, what? I'm being frank, bro. Like, who is out there having these conversations?
Yeah,
It's very in today's day. It's not. We're not being shown that these conversations are needed, right? And that all comes with change. Like, for example, like you were saying, like the fear of change, that requires faith. Requires faith that whatever it is that is coming in the future, it's gonna come and it's gonna prevail. Like, we have so much faith in the wrong thing. We have so much faith in our plans on the weekend rather than our destiny for the next 10, 20, 30 years, right? Like, we have so much faith in the highs of our life, but when it comes to the lows of our life, we lose it. But like on the opposite side, like we gotta have faith on the lows of our life as much as we have it on the faith in the highs of our life, right? And so it's crazy because you were saying like text, man, like everything, all this is a text, man. And sometimes, you know, like in school, like what, like the text is being announced 2 weeks from now.
yeah,
But we have 2 weeks to study, prepare, right? That's not how life works. The text comes first.
Yep.
And then God prepares you
yes.
after. So it's crazy, man. What you were just saying about reading just reading the manual of life, to understand, connect with the mind of the maker. I think that's the beauty of that. And I'm being very honest. Like for me, because I'm progressing. I'm nowhere near where I want to be, I'm nowhere near where I know I'm gonna be. But I'm grateful to have meet certain people, specific person as well, to really get me learning the Bible, learning the word, right? Quoting verses. I mean, I'm not speaking tongues or anything, but but for me, man, it's like to be able to understand that before, I mean, just like before, I'll be like at church or whatever it is, or like I'll be on Instagram and I see a Bible verse, right? And I don't do anything. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll read whatever it was saying about the Bible verse. But now I have like the urge and the desire to just open the Bible real quick to that verse, read before and after, like read the context of it. And it's like you don't get that if you don't start valuing and wanting to desire a better relationship with God, your maker. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, bro.
Oh yeah, man, and that's true. And the beauty of this thing is this: once you're able to connect with the maker's mind, you really know and value some certain things about life. You're going to really understand some deep principles that are fundamental to effective living. Without that, you cannot really go to attain the highest level of your life. Like where you're at now, there's more that you can do that you don't even know. And how can you know those capabilities that you possess that you don't even know of or you're not even aware of? Is by reading the maker's mind. And it goes to every product. Like we are just a representation of God. And that's why we have the ability to create or produce products. And we're using the same precept or principles that God already used. And he was the first creator. He created you and I. And he knew like, hey, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this, we can do that. But how are you going to know your gift if you don't connect with him? And that's one thing too. Like your gift is something that you give is going to make room for you. And you got to find that thing. What is that thing? And that's a problem. People really have hard times finding what their gift is. And sometimes your gift might be singing, like connecting with somebody, or like just doing something minor. Like it doesn't have to always be like playing basketball or be an athlete or do something. Like your gift might be doing like just making sure someone put a smile on someone's face. That might be your gift. Your gift might be like connecting with people on a higher scale. Like it doesn't matter. You got to figure out that thing. And the problem is the figuring out part. That is so hard. People don't really understand. And if you want to really figure out your gift, you have to like spend some time with yourself and the creator and figure out like, hey, what does he want me to do in this world? And study yourself. Study yourself. Any move you make, write it down. Any move you make, write it down. Anything you think that, oh, this thing is interesting, write it down. And write it down. And then in the long run, you're going to realize, oh, this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing. You might have maybe like 10 things. And slowly but surely, you're going to figure out that thing. But if you're not like spending some time to really study yourself and spending some time to reflect on some certain things about life, you're not really going to get to that level. You don't have to be a Christian to do this. You can be like a regular person and still like have that experience.
Yep.
Just sit down and just reflect on yourself. Like, hey, do I really want to know where I want to be in the next 10 years? Do I really want to know my gift? Do I really want to know my purpose? Purpose is the original intent for creation. Until you found that thing, you're always going to be wanting for more. And you're always going to be wanting, like, you're always going to want, like, hey, I need something, but you don't know what that thing is. And you have the urge, like, hey, I got to do something, but I don't know that thing is. And it's so frustrating because you're just like, man, am I really living or am I existing? And that's, you just live in the conflicting environment. You're just like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing with my life? You got to sit down, spend some time and reflect. Hey, what do I want to be? What do I really value? What do I really like? How can I attain that goal? How can I attain the level where I want to get to? Like, what are some of the things I got to start doing today that is going to help me attain or achieve that level of success I want to achieve tomorrow? Those simple those questions are going to lead you towards achieving that thing. And you got to be ready to start taking practical steps from that day. You start asking yourself those questions. Once you start taking practical steps, you're going to receive a lot of tests. A lot of tests are going to come your way. They're going to it's going to be like overflowing. You're going to be like, damn, I didn't know that this kind of like this level of test exists in this world. And the moment you overcome that challenge or that test or however you want to call it, you're going to realize that you can walk in a room and like, hey, I deserve to be in this room too. I have something valuable. I can contribute. I can impact someone's life. I can impact someone's life in a positive way. They can feel, understand what I'm actually saying, and they can connect and know that I'm not just saying this thing just to impress or just to make them feel like I'm smart or I know what the hell I'm talking about, but know that I really care and value them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that is really important in life. And sometimes we miss sometimes we miss a lot of things just by not listening. We have to know how to listen. Listening is so important when it comes to like everything in life. you have to know how to listen, and listening with the intention to understand, not listening with the intention to respond, because those are two different things. If you're just listening, oh, I just want to respond, because like we're having a conversation now, I'm listening to you, I'm trying to understand the message you're giving, and like, hey, how can I attest to what you're saying or contribute effectively, just to make sure like I really get what you're saying. And if I don't understand, I'm going to ask questions. That's how we'll get to a common agreement. And that's a problem. People don't really listen. They just they think they're listening, but they're not listening. They're just listening. Just, oh, how can I get quick? So respond quick, so this guy I know what the hell I'm talking about. And when you respond, you're like, damn, you didn't really get the message. You really didn't. You did not get the message. And when you go, you're trying to reflect, like, man, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You're not really connecting in a deeper level. Yeah. The moment you know how to listen, bro, you're going to be out of this world. You're going to be in a room and you know what the hell is going on. But if you're not listening, you're just like, whatever. And you're just responding. You're going to miss a lot of things. Yeah. And some opportunities are going to pass you by. Someone might be a guy who is your destiny helper. Someone want to help you get to where you're supposed to get to. And when he gets into a room and he's saying something, you're not even listening. You're trying to respond. He's just going to walk by like, nah, this guy is not serious. Yeah. So you have to have the deeper understanding of listening. That's really important, man.
Powerful, man. Powerful, bro. Powerful.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm just giving out some things that some valuable insight. I know, like, it's gonna help somebody listen to this, even if it's 100%. One person. Yep. The person can get value from it. So, enough about what Benrolins is talking about here. Let's get back to you, Mr. Daniel. How was it like growing up with a speech impediment?
I was a very shy, timid kid. Yeah. Be honest, very insecure about kind of, like how I'm born, the way I grew up, whatever it is. And yeah, man, I think it took me a while to really, like we were talking about, find my voice, but to understand that I'm a man of value. And I can cultivate that value. I can develop that value, right? So because at the end of the day, this is my belief, we're not born with value. Mm-hmm. We're born with the potential to develop it, right? And so for me, I felt like I had given up that belief when I was a kid. And so for me, growing up, man, I had to find my way. I started integrating an identity that the world gave me rather than what God ultimately had for me. And so being a timid, shy kid, I mean, I always say that the tech that you don't know you're taking, keep going around tech, man, the tech that you don't know you're taking is probably the most valuable one of them all. And so I didn't know I was going through a tech. Even at a young age, you're still going through tech, right? So yeah, man, I would say being able to still come out, because I say that there's always two roads to like kids that are getting bullied or insecure or whatnot, right? They have two roads to follow. They have a road where, unfortunately, a lot of kids suffer through more depression, suicidal thoughts, anxiety, whatever it may be, right? And they fall down a rabbit hole of negativity. Or the other road, that you prevail and you persevere and you come out stronger, you come out wiser. I'm grateful that in the midst of all that, I didn't fall down the first road, right? Now, I've gone through my struggles. I'm not perfect, obviously, but I've been able to be around good people in my life that kept me on pace to where I'm here today, right? Now, I always say that I think as a man, having certain people to teach you values and principles and certain skills as a man is very, very crucial and essential. I'll say because I love everybody in my life growing up, my parents, my family. They showed me love, but I still lacked a lot of the skills, the belief, the courage, the esteem, everything that is very crucial in a young man growing up, right? So, but I'm grateful though because regardless, I was able to find that for me, so that for my future family, my future kids won't have to go through that learning curve. They're still gonna go through that learning curve, but it's gonna be a more sharper curve rather than a wider and having to learn on their own, take longer. They can learn from my mistakes, and I'm not gonna rob them from their own wisdom. I'm gonna propel them to get there faster, if that makes sense, you know?
So when you're going through like a speech impediment and you see other kids who are going through like normal life or like they don't have anything wrong with them or something like that, how did you feel? Did you feel like, oh, God did something wrong to me, or like, oh man, what did I do wrong? Like, am I a burden to society, or I'm a valuable person? Like, what were your thoughts growing up in that situation, in that like environment?
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I would say for me, I would the factor of having a voice or believing you do plays a big role in anywhere obviously your entire life. So for me, because I didn't believe I had one, a lot of the challenges and struggles that I went through, I kept it to myself. So I remember that there were a lot of kids that, have either speech impediments, that either have they were just born different, unique, right? Something, whatever it is, their body parts, whatever they look, their appearance, right? Regardless, I see them and they're like full of love and life and like, and I don't think at that point in my life I was questioning if God did anything wrong, because I don't think I had that level of understanding yet. So for me, I kept it in me because I thought, okay, this is my life. I just deal with it. I didn't have the confidence to come to my parents about it. My cousins. I'm an older of three. I'm an older of four kids, so I have three little sisters. They're younger. I didn't think that. Okay, no, I felt like, okay, for a majority of my life, I had to keep it within me. And I think that's, I don't regret anything, but I think that's the biggest lesson that anyone can take away is confine someone, whether that be your parents or whether that be a friend or whether that be a mentor, right? I believe that if you speak it out, it no longer is yours. If you keep it in within you, you own it, whether that be negative or positive, right? So, yeah, man, I think I admired a lot of the kids growing up, and I saw it from afar, and they were just full of love, but like people would still bully them, and people would tease them or don't understand who they are, but there nothing changes. And for me, it took me a while to understand that, and because for me, it was the opposite. I felt empty, but I was still full of love, though. That's the thing. I was still full of love, but when something or someone says something, it'll just shut down. And then eventually when they leave, it's like, okay, I'm alone. I'm like, okay, I'm turning it back on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And how was it feeling back? How was it feeling at home with your dad or your mom trying to like encourage you or say, oh, you're special, you got good skills, like just believe in yourself? How was it feeling home?
Yeah, no, my parents are so loving. I'm grateful to have grown up in a childhood where both my parents were very supportive, were, uplifting me. Thinking about it, what you just said right now, actually, my parents, would tell me a lot that they're proud of me. Like there's a lot of stories out there that people don't have their parents telling they're proud of. I actually had my parents tell me that they're proud of me. I can look back and say that maybe they, it's weird to say, maybe they gave me too much love. Because I think a part of love is discipline. And although I was a good kid, very disciplined kid too, but there were a lot of things that I had to learn when I grew up, as far as mindset, skills, confidence. And so I'm not gonna say I wish they would have shown me this, or I wish they would have taught me this, or like my mother showed me certain things, or my father showing me how to be a man. Like, I'm not gonna say that. But I know with my future kids, my future family, I'm gonna do all the things that I've learned. I'm gonna incorporate. So I believe that me, as a young man growing up, like a teenager growing up, there are certain things that I wish maybe I could have learned as being a man. Now, I'm sure it's the same principle for a woman, but specifically as a man growing up, there are certain like confidence that you should learn, right? And whether it be the household or your family, your extended family, your friends, certain level of confidence, certain skills, certain mindsets, and so I'm regardless grateful for the journey because I now know that, and I know the perspective of it. I think perspective is key in anything. Having different perspectives can give you a wide range of understanding.
And another thing, like when kids are going through some kind of like turbulent situation, and they don't really, especially when people are bullying them, they don't really know what to do. Sometimes they go to like something negative to try to like calm themselves down. Was that the experience for you? And what was some of it? If it was the experience, like what are the experiences?
Yeah, I'm grateful again to say that I didn't really go through any type of alternative, right? Like alcohol, drugs, weed. I've never smoked in my life. I've never gotten drunk in my life. Like the certain things, right? I'll say, I think I'm open about it because I think someone needs to hear all this that we're sharing, right? As a man, if you get trapped in the sin of lust, it can be very bad. But the world and society will tell you that, oh no, you're a man, you're growing up, you should have experience, or you should explore. And I think that's where like I have a very hard time being tolerant in today's day. Is the fact that people are claiming sin to be normal. They're claiming to all these things where as kids we may have stumbled upon or maybe slipped into that hole, right, of women or lust or sex or alcohol, drugs, weed. Not saying any of that, like, I know some people out there gonna be like, weed? Like, no, weed is good, man. Like, no. I'm not saying, I'm just saying in general, any alternative that you feel like you need, that you need to rely on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't believe in that, man. I believe that God is the only thing that you should rely on. Now that doesn't make it mean that I didn't go through any of that, right? I've gone through certain like lust, women, all that, but to fully understand that is that today's day that so many people are being tugged this way, tugged that way, this belief, that belief. Oh, he, she, them, they, like I don't care. It's for real, man. It's like, bro, like, and it's just the lack of God. The lack of God. And so growing up, man, I didn't go through stuff. I think as teenage years and following my young adult years, I think the only thing that was something I had to tackle, and still today, the concept of it, what I had to go through is lust and women. As a man, and I think that stemmed from my lack of self-esteem and confidence as me as a man, and then lack of a relationship with God. But I believe that I don't care. I don't care what people go through. I don't care what people have gone through. I believe that there's always a path back to Jesus. And so some people may be watching this at some point where they're at their very lowest, or maybe some people are watching this where they're very comfortable in their sin, but maybe a part of them are thinking like, okay, yeah, you're saying something, right? Or someone has gone through that and they're watching this and it's like, okay, that's good. Maybe they can share that with someone else. I think that's the purpose. Once we start bringing it to light, it has no room for us anymore.
And let's go into something really interesting, modeling. How did you find
Modeling.
How did you find yourself
Oh man,
doing that?
yeah, it's crazy because modeling, like, that's contradicting to how I felt as a kid, right? Like I was very secure, thought I was, whatever. But yeah, man, I was grateful that I had certain people that kind of introduced me to that world. Mind you, not a professional, but I'm grateful because like I met a lot of professional photographers, models, people in that industry, right? And yeah, man, it was fun. It was real fun. I still do it today. Whenever the opportunity arrives, right? But I love it because for me, it's a way for me to express. You know what I mean? Like I love theatrical or like themes. Like where, let's just say I'm in a 3-piece suit at a bar and like I'm looking like like whatever it is, or if let's say like I'm in the field with like a cowboy hat and a guitar, like whatever it may be, man. Like I love being able to portray something. But yeah, man, I say it was weird because when I first, like my very first photo shoot was weird because like I liked it a lot, but it was so unknown. It was so different. So I wasn't used to it. Like that desire for validation that I had growing up for years all came within a camera. And then like I can post that and then more about, you know what I mean? So I'll say initially it was weird and it was maybe a little difficult too because I didn't want I understood, I was very aware that I wanted validation. I wanted people to like my post. I wanted people to whatever. But then part of me was like struggling to get out. I was like, I don't want that anymore. Like I want to just feel confident in me, right? But yeah, man. I mean, modeling for me, it was fun. I was gonna for me, it's. I remember my mom. So my parents are immigrants. I mean, they're here now, citizens, but like they came here to the U.S. They're from Bolivia and Costa Rica. My mom used to be a model when she was like 17, 16, back in Bolivia. And so when I look back at her picture, kind of like she was on a newspaper, in a local newspaper there in Bolivia, and when I looked at that, I was just like, really, you model? And so I remember for the first time. And probably, I think I don't remember how long, but it's been a very long time. From the first time since she was 17, there you go. 5 years ago, 2020 or 2019, something like that. For the first time since she was 17, she had the honor and the privilege to be able to model in front of us as kids. And that was around the time where I started modeling too. And so when she did that, I was like, whoa, it's legit. It's dope. I was just happy for her, and but that showed me that like our family came from a family of like artistic like mentality and creativity, right? So for me, I played music back then, but I didn't dive into that too enough. I didn't go into art. I didn't draw. I mean, my lane, I guess, was just through model, through theme, portrait, whatever it is.
Did modeling help you with your self-confidence?
It did. It definitely did. Not saying that the validation was enough, because it wasn't, obviously. But being able to understand that, okay, cool, eventually I grew up and I was like, okay, I am a good looking guy. Like for me, it's like, okay, cool, I can look at me in the mirror and be like, yeah, I'm solid. You know what I mean? But at some point, I couldn't do that, right? Yeah. And so like there are people out there right now that they can't even walk by a mirror because they just don't want to. But eventually, man, like once you start embracing who you are and what what God has given you, there you have no choice.
And then how about the ladies? You know, when you're a model and they know, oh, this guy's a handsome looking brother. Oh,
This guy.
all the ladies are
This
coming.
guy.
So how was that like, man? And how did you handle it?
You know, for me, it's kind of hilarious. No, I'll say this. That's where I was also understanding a lot more about what I'd gone through as a kid, teenage years. Like, I know it's like, for me, my sin was lust and women, pornography, and so to understand that, it was like an enhancer, unfortunately. But what's crazy about it is that we're going into like love now, because like for me, all I wanted was love. All I wanted was intimacy, right? But I was finding that all in the wrong place, right? And so for years, I've been going through like, you know, like I'll like go on like first dates, coffee dates, nothing more. Coffee dates, you know, anything like that. But it's like it'll go great. There are great people out there, but it's like, to come back to resort to you, I was looking for something that probably was impossible to find because of the lack of and what I've gone through in relationships and women. I developed, and this is great, going personal now. I developed a mistrust with women for such a long time, and so me as a young man, not understanding that, but as you know, modeling in the play, but going into it, growing as a man. I realized that. And so like when you know, like growing up and just the modeling and understanding how I look and how I feel, I was still looking for that intimacy that I couldn't find because I was looking for it in the wrong place, right? And so, man, I mean, I'm just grateful where I'm at now, because I remember in the early years of last year, 2023, that's where I finally said no more, and I wanted to start healing, because my desire is to build a family one day. I want to be a father, be a husband, a godly husband. I want to be able to leave a legacy, impact those in my generation and moving forward. Like no more from what I came from, because it's going to start with me now. And so to understand that, I need to work on what was holding me back. And it was my fear, my mistrust, whatever it is with women, lust, all that. And so last year I started healing, and I had to go back to my past in order to heal. So for me, it was weird to say, but I intentionally was hurting. Like I intentionally put myself through pain. That's not to boast about, no, but it's like to be like, I wanted to heal, so I had to go through a lot of stuff. It was hard, man. It was hard, and I think a lot of men can probably relate, and we're misunderstood because we're expected to be this and this and this, right? Which is true. We should be. But like most people don't understand that we had gone through a past too. That in order to be this, we have to find that little child that's been in our past. So for me, last year going through a lot of healing, man, a lot of like healing on trauma patterns, certain hurts, right, mistrust, even self-esteem to a certain level, a certain degree, right? Because you can be confident, you can look great modeling, women, whatever it is, but until you really go deep, you'll find out that there's still some lack of self-esteem. So for me, last year for a good 6 months, I had to go through that, man. And crazy how God works, man. I go through that later on. I find a very special woman, and that just changed everything. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that special woman, but before we get there, like your previous relationships and the mistrust that you had about women, like how did that play out, and how was the this in, was it intense, or like how was it like?
Yeah, for the majority of my relationships, I've either been cheated, or disrespected, or been hurt, whatever it is, right?
You or the lady?
Me.
Oh.
Me. And so for me, yeah, man, it's crazy because like that's where that misconstruction came from. To think that, okay, all women are like this now. Or for example, I'm not valuable enough. I'm not enough as a man. Which if you use that, you can use that as fuel and use it in the right way. But I had to learn that I was using it in the wrong way for so long. And so my previous relationships and stuff, man, they like looking back at it now, I learned a lot. But at the time, obviously, you know, you're kind of like your first relationship. You guys break up, it's like the end of the world, right?
Yeah.
Like your heart's done, you're broken, you're done. But yeah, man. I mean, I'll say like for people out there, like God heals all. Like God can redeem, God can heal, God can just push you forward to anything that He has in store for you. And so I'm grateful that I've gone through what I've gone through to be able to use that to transfer to anyone else that needs to go through needs to hear that as well, based on what they're going through.
I'm glad you mentioned something, cheating. That is something that really causes a lot of problems in the world today.
Yeah.
And I want to really understand something. So the ladies were cheating on you. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
And sometimes you feel like, hey, probably you're not enough for this lady if she can go again to another guy and another guy to get some value or like some other thing that you can't provide for her.
Yeah.
So how did you find out?
Find out how they were
Yeah, they were doing
certain things, man. I mean, it's just, you know, finding out that they were with my friend or finding out through someone else. Yeah, bro. Finding out through other people. I think that's the main thing. Finding out through other people, which that develops mistrust. Okay, now I can't even trust you who did it, but now I can't even trust you who told me. Because you're telling me that they were comfortable, or you were finding out through them somehow.
Yeah.
But they were, or they told you, or they were comfortable in telling you. Why weren't you? So my point is that.
So probably he was a person, or she was. They were connected.
Yeah. So yeah, man, it's crazy because like I think. I'm being honest. Like sometimes I downplay it. Like talking to you right now, I'm be very honest. I'm downplaying it because there are people out there that have gone through that and they need healing, right? They need to hear it. But then at the time, I overplay it because like I'm thinking, okay, cool, I'm not enough. I'm less than a man or whatever it is. But I think once you use that to the right fuel, man, like all this talk about toxic masculinity or whatever it is, the Andrew Tate of the world, right? I mean, no, let me stop.
No, go ahead. You're free, man. Go ahead.
But it's crazy because if you really understand or you try to understand, like that stems from something. And so that fuel of never wanting to be less than anymore, it's going to fuel a man to go to the gym every single day, to eat right, to read books, to get ripped, learn how to fight, to maybe even going out to just talking to women, talking to people to gain that, whatever it may be, right? So I believe that used in the right way, whatever you're feeling, whatever the fuel, your tragedy, your downfalls are growing up, you can use that to the right fuel.
Would you tell me that was your lowest point in your life or the lowest moment in your life?
At the time as a kid, I felt like it was the lowest moment of my life. And I thought it was for so long. That's why for me, it's been, I mean, I'm 27 and I still go, I mean, I'm still healing. I'm still working on me. I'm still progressing. I'm 27. I don't care if you're 38, 54. I'm 27 and I'm still doing that. I'm still working on me because I understand that in order for me to gain or be trusted by God with the woman for the rest of my life, the children that are coming after me, everything, the influence, I need to work on me. I need to be ready, like we were talking about earlier. Be ready so I won't have to get ready, right? So, but yeah, no, I would say at that point, you know, probably like anything growing up, like kids, like, oh, it's like the end of the world, right? Yeah, it hurt. It was good. But I say looking back now, like it's nothing, man. I don't know. It's nothing. I mean, maybe it's the mindset that I developed because of that. But for me, looking back now, it's like, okay, it happened.
Yeah, you can move on now. So walk me through the healing process to where you finally met your present girlfriend right now. And from the look of things, probably she's going to be the future. So, like, what happened to that moment, and
Yeah.
how did you change your perception towards women, or you still have the same perception?
No, yeah, it's that's good. During my healing time last year, specifically, because we're always healing, but last year was my true understanding and awareness, right? What I had to go through was a lot, getting closer to God, reading my word, reading my Bible, but also understanding me, like you were saying earlier, studying myself, reflecting myself, right? I read a ton of books. It's crazy because I didn't grow up reading books. Now I love reading books, but at that time I was reading like 5 books a month.
Whoa.
5 books a month for the next 3-4 months on healing, on myself, on purpose, on calling, on self-development, mindset, but specifically healing, right? And there's this book I always tell everybody I recommend it always. It's The Mountain Is You by Brianna West. That book has changed my life, bro. And that was the catalyst to the whole journey for the last 6 months last year. And so yeah, man. Like I said, it was hard because you have to go relive a lot of the memories, the patterns, and like truly like I have this analogy. Growing up when I was like dating and even like till recently, right? Like last couple years, it's like you have everybody has an inner child.
Yep.
No matter how hurt or bruised or wounded that inner child is, you have an inner child. But for me, for so long, because of that mistrust and everything, for 5-10 years, I started protecting that inner child rather than helping it and rescuing it, right? So what I was doing, I was building a house around that child. I was building a house brick by brick, the roof, everything. Then after the house, it's like, okay, cool, put the child in the room, lock the room. Cool. But that's not enough for me at that time. For me, I needed to do more. I need to go ahead and build security systems, alarm systems, cameras outside. Okay, cool. Now I'm aware. Okay, cool. Now anybody that gets close, like I'm aware. Okay, cool. They're getting close. But that wasn't enough. Okay, cool. Now what? Well, I gotta put lasers. Put lasers on top of the roof, so that when they get close enough, and boom, start to burn them, whatever. Lasers. Okay, cool. That's not enough. Okay, cool. I gotta put BB guns around here in the porch, right, in the door, in the windows, right. Okay, cool. No, but that's not enough. I can't trust anyone. I can't trust women. Okay, cool. Now I got to build landmines. Got to build landmines within the driveway and the walkway, whatever, going up to the door, right? Build landmines, right? Okay, cool. All right. 5, 6, 7, 8 years of building this fortress to protect me from getting hurt again. And so now that every woman, whether they're great or good or bad, whatever it is, every woman that comes my way, they have to go through all that. But what's crazy is that after all that, for a period of time, I didn't realize that fortress was still there and up and running. Like the electricity was still on. Like everything in that house was good. So when people were coming, like whenever I go on dates or whatever, right? And like it's getting like the relationship builds, whatever it is, right? Week 1, week 2, whatever it is, I'll start to get very protective of me now. I don't want to get hurt. So I think women are trying to get closer to me. Like they're walking down the driveway, they're walking up the steps, they step on a landmine. The laser activates. The BB gun goes off. The alarms go off. So it's like, okay, cool. Like now these women are like heckin', right? And I'm thinking it's just me. I'm thinking that there's something wrong with me. Then eventually they walk away. They turn their back on me.
Wow.
And so for me growing up, man, that was the healing process I had to go through last year to really understand. And I speak of this. This is not a story of. I mean, it's a story about me, but it's not for me. For anyone else who feels that way too. And so after that healing, man. Long story short, after that healing, last year, I was in a place where I'm like, okay, yeah, I've been looking for love and intimacy, but I'm not gonna look for it anymore. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. I'm gonna have God place that person in front of me. I always said that, but I never acted on it, right? I always said it for years. I'm like, I'm not gonna look. I'm gonna have God place her in front of me. But I will never act on it. I will never act on what I said. So for me, when I did that, it was like around August, and then it's crazy how God works. Like all He is waiting for, man, is for you to make a decision and act on it. It's like think of it like in the ceiling. Let's say like balloons. You know how like in the movies, like there's so many balloons, like the hundreds of balloons, and they're wrapped up with like a string, and like there's a rope or a string here, right? So you just pull on that rope, everything comes down.
Yep.
That's God with your blessings. And He can't pull that rope until you're ready, until you're ready to receive all those blessings, or you're aware. So for me, that's how I felt. So when that happened, literally a month later, I come across this girl, and I'm not gonna say, but God had placed her in front of me, and so it felt like God was pulling on that rope a little bit, just a little bit, just for some to come down. But guess what?
What?
She had to go through what all women had to go through. Wow. For me, she had to walk through that driveway, walk through those steps, landmine after landmine, laser after BB gun bullets, like everything, the alarms, all that, everything that all other people had walked away, turned their back on me on, she didn't. And so I'll just say, man, they're like, for those, I guess the biggest thing you can take away, for those who believe that there isn't someone for you, or that you're not enough, or that it's taking too long, or no, maybe I'm meant to be single forever, or I gone through a divorce and now I don't know what to do. Oh, I had a child and we're not married. Anything that you feel like that's holding you back in your past, your current reality, God is the answer.
Yep.
God heals. God redeems. And for me, that was a testament of putting my faith in really what God has been telling me to do all along.
So you said you always had this wish for God to put a lady in front of you. So how did you know that she was the one?
Right off the bat, I always tell her this. I tell everybody, I admired her relationship with God. It was the first thing I noticed. And it's crazy because the first time we talked and everything, like she was sharing with me all this stuff about the Bible and the Word, and I was curious because I'm like, whoa, like how do you know? And mind you, it's like you're not a pastor, right? Like how do you know all this? but she studies the Word, she studies the Bible, she teaches as well at her church. So it's like it's crazy to think that someone like her, and that was like the first thing I noticed, and I admire, and like sometimes. For men out there, we believe that we can't learn things from other people, or let alone from their lady, right? We believe that we got to have everything together and know everything more than you. Nah, bro. Like that's the whole purpose of having the one, right?
Yeah.
It's to realize your weaknesses will be covered with her strength.
Yep.
And then your strength will be covering her weakness, right? So for me, that's the first thing. And then just everything that I've shared with you, as far as what I've had to go through and what her actions showed, that's what I believe. But like God willing, we'll see what the world and God has in store, right? So,
wow, man, that was a good one. That's a good one right there. I really appreciate you for really giving us like a sense of what you've been through, your experiences.
Yeah,
It's going to really help someone watching right now, and they're going to be like, oh, I'm not going through this alone. Someone went through the similar experience, so I can tap into that and see I can better my life. So I really appreciate you. Now let's move on to something. How did you get into financial? How did you get into the financial industry?
Yeah,
What led to
yeah.
that moment?
I got introduced by a friend of mine way back when it's like 2017, 18. So my first job was McDonald's, and so I make a joke because like I always tell people like I worked at a $1 billion company, $1 billion like platform, and crazy. I had nothing to do with that because I worked at McDonald's, right? But that was my first job. I remember it was outside. I got off of work, and she was there. She was a friend of mine at high school. She knew my mom, what certain things I had to go through at that time. And she really just asked me like, "Don't you think that you can do more?" I was like, yeah. I mean, yeah, like I do. She go, okay, cool. We have these events here in Tyson Corner, like Virginia. You should come out. Like you should learn more about, like finances and business and personal development. I was like, business, finance. Okay. And then I heard that one of my friends were going. So I was like, oh, you're going? Okay. Let me go too. Like, sure, I'll go. And from there, I knew nothing about business or entrepreneurship or finance or money. I didn't come from any of that. My parents, my family, they did great. I'm grateful for what they did, but they didn't teach me that. So I learned all that. That was like first time seeing all that. I remember coming back home from that event. I literally opened my laptop. I searched up the word on Google, what is entrepreneurship? Because I had no clue what that even meant. I was like, yo. So I didn't even know how to spell it, but you know how Google will like autocorrect? So it's like, I was like, okay, click there. And it gave me a whole new new lens of the world, bro. Like I didn't know what that was. And at that time, I didn't go to college. I didn't believe going to college because I didn't know what to study. So I'm not gonna pay for something that, you know what I mean? But I remember I was fascinated by it. And what's crazy is that I was like, oh, look, like I can be rich, be wealthy, all these cars, all this house, whatever it is, right? But I was also aware that I knew nothing. So I was like a blank sheet of paper. I would think I'm a blank sheet of paper, but I realized that I had to go through a lot of unlearning. I had to unlearn a lot of mindsets, beliefs, and what I lived my life, right? To be able to relearn new mentality, money mindsets, like all these things that I know now. I had to do that. I had to unlearn to relearn, right? So fast forward, being in the financial industry has changed my life. It's just me, my journey. I didn't fall in love with finance. I didn't fall in love with what I did. So I'm in life insurance specifically. I didn't fall in love with insurance when I first started. I fell in love with the environment and being able to want to grow as a person and develop, right? So through that environment, I grew. My identity grew. I started learning from other people, my mentor, right? Through that environment, I grew. My identity grew. So what that meant was, okay, cool. Now I'm understanding why we do all this. I'm understanding why life insurance is so important, especially the new life insurance right now. I'm understanding a lot of things which I didn't understand before. So being able to say that I'm coming into my fourth year, being in the finance industry, to know what I know, and more importantly, to share that. Because for me, everything is sales, everything is money, commission, that's cool. But for me, I value education first. I value first. I want to bring that value first. I know what I do, everyone needs. Everyone that's alive needs. But I'm not going to sit here. I'm not in the convincing game. I'm going to present you the value and why you need it. Obviously, sales, but at the end of the day, I'm going to present the education and value. If you don't find it valuable for you right now in this season of life, perfectly fine. I hope we stay connected because I hope one day you'll realize. But I'm not going to, if it finds value, great, we can move forward. But I'm not going to position myself to want to have commission breath. I want purpose and mission before the commission.
Yeah, that's different. That makes you different from others, the same people in the financial industry, because most of them just want to hit that number.
Yep.
They want to hit that number. They don't really treat people with respect,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
it's just like I got the deadline. I got to get to the number before the deadline. So I really appreciate you for giving us the insight. And what are some of the challenges you face in the financial industry? Like trying to spread the word out, trying to improve people's life, but they're seeing you, they're like, this guy, what's going on?
Yeah, it's the limiting belief. Especially in my community, the Latino community. I mean, I know there's a lot, but in my community, a lot of people are just very skeptical. And they like, oh, it's too good to be true. They didn't grow up with this, so it's very hard to understand or believe that, hey, this is good, right? So if the limiting mindset in my community, I think that's why I'm so passionate now, right? Like finance and insurance is gonna be, I'm doing this thing for the next 10, 15 years. But after that, whatever I built here is gonna set me up for my bigger purpose, right? But ultimately, while I'm doing that, I want to be able to impact people. That's been my I believe my calling, be able to impact people in different ways. But my calling is through finance. So in order to do that, I'm gonna have to go through a lot of objections, whatever it may be. But people that just I need them to know the value is there, the education is there, because we don't get taught how finance works. We don't get taught in school, at work, unfortunately not at home, right? So what do? We go through our lives in our 20s and our 30s, making mistakes and learning from it, right? Going through our 40s, trying to recover from that, and just in time in our 50s and our 60s, bouncing back to where we should have been in our 30s and our 40s, right? Terrible wisdom, but at the end of the day, that's all we know. So for us, for me specifically, I value the education and the impact before, because I know that if I impact them, if you want to think about it this way, if I impact them, they're going to trust me regardless, to trust me with their finances, their money, their dreams, everything. But ultimately, that's what I want. So I'm not impacting them for my purpose, or I would say my selfish benefit. I'm impacting them for them, which ultimately is going to come back to me regardless. So if you think about it, me and our organization, we always say the more you serve, the more you earn. Because ultimately, I want to be selfishly selfless. I want to be able to selfishly say that I'm impacting the most people, because ultimately that's my calling, but that's going to help me in return. That's going to build me up, set me up for my future kids, my future family too, my legacy, right? So being able to be selfish in wanting to improve your life and get better, that's going to ultimately serve so many more people.
Well, man, this episode is good. This is good. Hey guys, make sure you're sharing this, because someone got to listen or hear this, because man, you've been you've been giving some profound wisdom today, and I really appreciate you for saying that. So what are some of your long-term vision and aspiration?
Man, impacting more people in a grander scale. Now, I mean, like selfishly, stuff like income, wealth, all that's gonna happen. Future family, kids, wife, but being able to build and influence. I want the most influence, bro. I want influence. I want to be the mayor of my city. I want to be able to have people know me from different countries. I want people to get impacted by what I say and what I do, because the only reason why I'm going to say it is because I'm doing it. I want to be able to do this, like I'm having a podcast, having a channel of influence, social media, all that cool stuff. Like this, first of all, I'll say, man, what you got going on here, I'm impressed, bro. Like I was saying this like earlier, like this right here, and I know you just getting started, bro. Your journey getting started, but the future looks bright, man. I'm learning a lot from just being here too. So I'm grateful and appreciated that you got me here. But that's ultimately my vision too, to be able to bring that impact that you're doing, being able to give a platform for those who voice matters, and has value to give. Because there are people out there that believe their voice matters.
But does it really?
Does it really? I don't know. I don't know, man. A lot of people here claiming that you know, like I don't want people that are he she people that oh they have the choice to enter this restroom or that restroom.
Oh.
Or you know, whatever it may be, man. But I'll say there's a fight going on in this country, man. There's a fight. And I believe that Christian men and women, I'll talk specifically about men. There's a fight between true masculinity and manhood, with Christian, with powerful values and principles and virtues. This world, this country, they don't want to see us prevail. They don't want to see us flourish into the best version of ourselves, the potential that we have. They want to destroy they want to destroy our families. I'm not saying the country. I'm saying the world.
Yeah.
The world wants to destroy the household families. They want to destroy godly principles and people that are following in God's word. Like they want to destroy that, and ultimately that's the enemy. So for me, the vision is to be able to bring so much more impact and influence that I can unlock something in you to do the same thing. Unlock something in you and do the same thing. And you can't do that without influence.
That's true. You cannot do it without influence. And influence, you have to be prepared for a lot of trials and tribulations because they're coming.
Yep,
They're really coming.
100%.
Yeah, I really appreciate you for giving us that insight. But before I end the episode, is there anything you want to say?
Man, I'll say this. Ben Rollins here, bro. Like anyone who's watching and who's gonna be watching these videos, I'll say like stick with this man, cause I've known him for a short period of time, and we just met like the other day. But the vision that what he has and the value to give, you don't come across that often. Now, obviously, people are going to be watching this on social media and YouTube and all that. You're going to find so many people just search up anything and it's right there. But the fact that you can see him where he is today, right now, and stick with his journey, see his journey 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 or 5 years from now, you're going to see the amount of impact that he has through his podcast, through his platform, which is something special to see. Like a lot of people, they see these influencers, these YouTubers, they see from when they first started, right? And then now they're here. But they're really not creating any impact, at least from what I see. They're just here to make a buck, or they're just here to make someone laugh. That is impact, making people laugh. But to really get value that can like change your life, follow Benrolins Blueprint. At the end of the day, man, I'm grateful that you have me here. You've invited me out, bro. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the future and what God has in store. So the future looks very bright, bro.
Yeah, thank you for those kind words, man. It really means a lot, and I really appreciate you for coming today. And it's been a great one, and we're gonna do it again and again and again.
Yay.
Thank you very much, man. And hey, guys. You have a very interesting and great episode today. Please make sure you do us a favor. Share, like, and subscribe. And I want to thank all our audio listeners, people who are listening to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and other streaming platforms. Please continue to like, help, and share the episodes with your loved ones, friends, and family. This episode is the one you can't listen alone. Make sure you help someone to understand the message today, and we really appreciate you for everything you do. You've been doing a lot, and thank you very much, and see you on the next episode. Benrolins Blueprint comes to an end. Thank you. Bye-bye.